Hi and welcome to the MPS for Design presentation at 12D Tech Forum. Some of you guys may have seen my other training webinars on YouTube with the MPS and MPS frames and referencing, and I'm going to be covering some of that stuff that I've done in those previous training webinars today. So a little bit of an agenda for today. First off, I'm going to do a really short PowerPoint presentation, just going through the key points of what we're going to be running through today. I'll give you a quick reminder of the MPS structure, and then we're going to jump right into a live 12D model session of editing an MPS setup for engineering design. I'm Dylan Revell. I'm the Regional Sales Manager for 12D New Zealand Limited. Some of the key points that we're going to be covering today's presentation, the most important one is the model is the one source of truth. That's going to be the direct output of all of your design data, and the MPS is just a part to play in that. The plots are a snapshot of time in your model. So they're that static snapshot of your model process or your model status at the time of plotting. Don't repeat yourself. Reference. We're going to run through referencing, and I think you'll find how it's going to basically change the way that you do things and make things a lot more efficient. And definitely work smarter, not harder. Drawing registers, they save a lot of typing and they're really clever and really important within the MPS file itself, especially for engineering plots. Do you really need a single MPS file? Yes, you can absolutely store your entire drawing set within one MPS file, but you might want to see whether you can do it more efficiently. Plots are not just 2D plans. That's another key point that I'm hopefully going to be making today. Be adventurous, try some CAD options. And finally, favorites are your best friend. That's one of the big key points that you'll be taking out of today. I'll just do a really quick run through of the MPS structure for those of you who may not have seen my other presentation. So MPS plots are all contained within a book. All of your chapters and all of your pages and all the compositions of the plots that you're doing are contained within this top level container. And a book can have subnodes on that level. So whether it be a text subnode, a model subnode, or a title block subnode, they can be assigned on a book level, and so they will automatically be referenced or passed across to all of the chapters and all of the pages within the book itself. The next level down is a chapter. So a book has chapters, and these chapters can also contain their own subnodes. Again, title blocks, notes. In this screenshot here, you'll see that I've got a model that's been referenced on a chapter level, and anything that's on that chapter level will be passed down to all of the pages within the chapter. And then finally, a chapter has pages. So whether they're plan pages or long sections or cross sections, you can have many different pages within a chapter level, or you can even have a special chapter which goes through the other plotting features in 12D. And the page contains frames and other subnodes. So subnodes can be referenced down to different levels. I've sort of touched on that anything in a book can be referenced to a chapter, and everything in a chapter can be referenced to pages. And basically that's the trick for not doing things twice or more. Reference as much as you possibly can. All right, let's jump into 12D model itself and run through the MPS for design. Okay, we're into 12D. We've got a project and we've got some views already set up. And we're going to start off by opening an existing MPS file, and I'll run you through the different parts within this MPS file. So I'm going to edit this one called Engineering Plots. It's going to load up a preview on the left-hand side. I'll just arrange these through. And this is just a rough example of how you would probably set up a set of engineering drawings inside an MPS file. And the things I'd really like to run through are the referencing to start off with, the drawing register, and then just a few of the different special chapter types. And as I go through, I'll open up a PDF file that has those completed plotted book out, so you can see what the resulting plots are going to be looking like. So starting off, referencing. Referencing is really important inside 12D, and it'll just save you so much time and effort. So on a book level, I have frames, I have one single title block reference, and I have a text reference, and they're on a book level, and they can be passed down to any chapters, and to any pages underneath those chapters. So if I start off by looking at the frame itself, what you'll have inside your engineering plots is you'll have the same layout, the same page positions or the same frame positions on many different types of plans. They may be roading plans and they may be drainage plans or whatever, but you're going to have the same frame type. Please don't insert, relocate those frames over and over and over again, especially in the same place every single time. So what you can do is you can have frames on high levels. So I've got 5 plan frames and they are referenced on a book level so they can be passed down to any chapter. And just going through these frames, I've given them a name, a color, I've given them a model so I can actually see the location of those frames in a particular model. If I turn it on at a 12D view, so I can get that visual indicator on a 12D plan view of where those frames are located. I don't want the viewport drawn, and there's other settings there. I do have some survey data, and this survey data has its raw data colors, models, and line styles. But I want to take that data and I want to actually remap it. So just for these frames in these particular views, they're going to look different. All right, I'd like those to be a lot less dominant. I'd like to color them gray. And so you can apply a map file to a frame. In this case, I have a map file called Survey Gray, and that's basically going to change the look of all that data on this one plot or frame position. Inside the map file, I've got all of my typical survey name codes, and I'm going to map those all to a light grey color. And also for my design, when I plot out my design roading plans, I don't actually want to see my lip of curb and my top of curb. Sorry, my lip of curb and my back of curb. I only want to see one of those. So what I've got here is those particular design names. I've specified those as a view color. So when I hit the plot button, those particular design elements or objects don't actually plot out. So applying different map files to different frames is also really handy. View favorites. So the data that these are plotting as a default, as a setup, it's defaulted to actually plot whatever data is saved away from a favorite. And this just prevents you having the problem of someone jumping into your project, closing the view, messing up the models that you had all set in that view. You don't have to worry about that. You can save all of those model states and orders away in a favorites file, and you can just reference that favorites file to plot out in that particular frame. So if I just minimize this for a second, I've got a couple of favorites inside my engineering plot view. If I load up my favorite for the road design data, okay, this is what's going to be plotting out in my road design plots. And I've also got some drainage and utilities. If I load up that favorite, stormwater plot, you'll see the different models and whatnot that have been saved away in that particular file. So I'm going to be plotting favorites as I go through in the frames. And these frames, again, are on a book level. So if I were to create a new chapter, I've set that these frames will be passed down on a page level. So you could reference those down to a chapter or reference them down to a particular page. I'm not going to plot this one, but if I go up here and I insert a new chapter, you've got a chapter 1, and then as soon as I insert a page underneath that chapter, it's thinking about it, it's gone and referenced all of those different frames underneath the page. So I could come through it and just choose exactly which frame I wanted to be applicable on this page. I'm just going to delete that chapter itself. So I have planned frames that are on a book level. I also have one single title block. This title block instance is referenced once on a book level, and it's passed down to every single page, be that 1 page, 2 page, 200 pages inside this MPS file. It's just having that title block reference once. Why would you do it on 200 different times on 200 different pages if you can reference it down? So that title block is on a book level, and all of the data that's going to be passed into that title block comes from a drawing register. And so in the drawing register here, I have a simple CSV file. By the way, this one is the one, just a variation of the one that's shipped with 12D model. And the most important thing within the file is where it's going to go and derive its name from. With regards to all of the other information that's being populated on the title block, this is just calling up different columns within the drawing register file. And I'll just open up that CSV file just for a bit of a quick look. May look a little bit overwhelming to people who aren't used to drawing registers, but basically controlling everything in here. This is the absolute key. It's the MPS name, and this is the lookup. So it's going to go looking for particular pages inside my MPS file that have these names, and once it finds those matching names, it's going to fill in all of the other information as it goes through. So you can really easily control with one title block reference and a drawing register all of the different information that goes into all of your different page types. And I have a stamp. So I have a piece of text here, not for construction, and that's on a book level, and that's going to be passed across automatically to all of the chapters and all of the pages underneath this MPS file. Okay, going and having a look at the actual composition of these chapters and these pages. So I have a chapter for all of my roading drawings, and I have separate pages underneath all of those roading drawings, and underneath each one of these pages it is simply just drawing from the reference on a book level. So from the engineering drawings book, it's going to be frame number 1, and my sheet number 2 is engineering drawings referencing frame number 2. So I control them all here in one place, and they just instantly get passed across to all of my other data. Within this particular page, let's just update the preview there. In this frame, even though the frame and the frame settings can be specified on a book level, I can go and change those individually as they go through. And also I can change the information or the data that's plotting out within this particular plan frame. I could specify a different view or a different view favorite to get the data absolutely from. So I have a chapter for all of my roading drawings that are pulling the information from those particular frames and individualized favorites. And if I just go and open up that set that it's creating, when I plot out the data, this is the information that's going to be populated through, and all of the information from the title block, the names, the scales, and whatnot, they are being pulled directly from the drawing register or the CSV file. So I have 5 pages of road designs that are plotting out the information that's from within that favorite. Okay, back to 12D. So I have 2 different sets of, I'll call them engineering plans. I have a roading chapter, and I also have a water utilities chapter. These have different page names, but they're grabbing the same referenced frame from that book level. The only difference is it's drawing the data to produce from a different view favorite itself. It's coming from the SW plot plan view favorite, so the data it's plotting is different. So you have lots of different frames inside 12D. You've got plan frames, which is the ones that I've just shown you. You have cross-section frames and perspective and 3D PDF frames, and I'll show you those in a little while. I'll do that last. And rather, if you're at a sub-level, what you could do is, rather than just manually insert a new frame, this is where you can actually go and reference other different frame types that are defined at a higher level. Then we have things called special chapters. So in the special chapter, you can have your different types of PPF files running that you guys are used to historically inside 12D. So you can have a cross-section PPF file, a long-section PPF file, and a water long section. And I've got some chapters there that have these all set up. So my road long section chapter is a special chapter. And I've got a name, and I've got some overriding settings for the previews and the PDF files, which are the typical MPS structure. But what I've got set up here is my PPF file for plotting out long sections. And the nice thing is you could have your typical PPF file. This is just an example of the one that's loaded with 12D, but you can have different overriding specific values for that PPF file on a special chapter level. So I can use the same plot parameter file, but in different special chapters, plot different data. So strings to profile or the model of strings to profile. So that's a long section special chapter. I also have a long section special chapter for my, a cross section special chapter for my channel cross sections. And this is again just pulling up a standard 12D PPF file, and I can override the data that it's actually going to be creating with this XPlot PPF or this multi cross section special chapter. The important thing to note on the PPF files is inside your PPF file, when you're plotting that out to a model to get an idea of what 12D is producing, you may have title block settings that are set up inside the PPF file. As soon as you start running those files as special chapters in an MPS, all of the title block information that you had in the PPF file is ignored. The title block information instead is now controlled within the MPS file. So it's drawing down from that title block 1 on the book level and populating all of the information from my drawing register. Now the multi-sections obviously have multiple pages. So in the case of the road long sections, I have 2 sheets or 2 pages of long sections that are automatically being produced from the MPS special chapter type. Now what I would want to do is I need inside the drawing register to be able to assign individual page numbers or sheet numbers for those multiple pages. And you'll see down the bottom here, I have sheet page number 200 for page number 1, and I have 201 for page number 2. And if you're controlling those inside a drawing register, the secret for those is to have this particular item checked inside your special chapter. Add the chapter page numbers to the plot file. What that does is it will go looking in for these pages called road long section, but I can individualize the page numbers inside the drawing register file by simply having a space followed by the page item that's going to be plotted out of these special chapters, in this case road long section 1 and road long section 2. So even though the chapter is called road long section, each individual page can be assigned a different page number from the drawing register. So your typical special chapters, your long sections and your cross section types, those are there and as normal with your PPF files. And I've also got stormwater long sections, which is a water section type special chapter, water long section. And again, I can override any of the settings within the PPF file if I want to, and that's producing multiple sheets of water long sections, just like you'd normally do, but controlled within the MPS file. If I go down to those sheets, there's the water long sections. And so I've got multiple sheets, each with individualized sheet numbers based on the drawing register file. And they're produced from your typical 12D water long section PPF controller. So you can absolutely have your entire drawing set controlled within the MPS if you really want to. But the question I did pose earlier on in my PowerPoint is, do you really want everything contained within a single MPS? You can probably be more efficient if you really wanted to, because you can remember that all of these MPSs can be automated and run on a chain. So you don't have to wait for those 200 pages to plot out. If you want to run that on a chain, you can just individualize those as you go through. So we've got our special chapter types. Now I do have another special chapter type here for my channel design, just to show you another function. Within the long section PPF file in 12D, you can specify it to automatically plot out plan items. So it automatically orientates that plan. And this is where the symbol setup inside a long section special chapter comes into play. So the symbol setup only for plan plotting. So inside your PPF file, you have to have the plan plotting activated inside the PPF file. And this is going to automatically orientate the plan plot to try and best fit along the long section. And it's a feature inside 12D that's been there for a long time. But what I'd like to do is automatically have a north point symbol orientated to match the orientation of the plan plotting. And you can control that inside the MPS file here under symbol setup, used only for plan plotting. So I've got a symbol in a color at a size, and I have these X and the Y coordinates. You don't see them on your previews. You don't see a preview of special chapters. But I've got that set up to near the top right hand side of the page. So if I plot that long section with the plan activated, what it actually produces is an automated plan positioning, but I can control that symbol setup for the plan positioning in the MPS file. So that's the setup for controlling that north point automatically within the plan plot. And you can do the same sort of thing for plan frames, plot frames as well. So just about every single plot type that you may be used to in 12D can be controlled inside an MPS file. Just showing you a couple of different frame types, pretty much to finish off. I already have a details sheet here all ready to go. I have a page, and you'll notice that I've referenced those frames number 4 and number 5 down on a chapter level. If underneath these sheets you didn't want those frames, you can obviously either delete or remove those reference subnodes, or in this case I've just deactivated those. So even all the frames that you have on a book level or chapter level that's being passed down, you can control those whether you actually want them to be there or whether you want them currently to be seen. So just a couple of different frame types. Most people are used to doing drawings, are used to doing a plan frame, and you have to go through the effort of plotting something to a model first and then positioning that model into a plan frame. But the whole idea behind 12D frame types is you don't have to do that. You can have things drawing its information directly from the one source of truth 3D model straight away, and it just updates if the 3D model updates. So just to give you a couple of little indications of those different frames, I'm going to insert a X section frame. So just a cross section. It's still going to be drawing a cross section PPF information, but I can manually position this on the page. Oh, sorry, that's on chapter level. Start that again, just delete that. It's always good to show you how you can delete subnodes. Under the channel details, I'm going to insert a cross-section frame, and I'm going to have that inside this portion of the plot composition. And you'll see this X section frame type allows me to reference a PPF file like normal. So I've got a PPF file, and I could do 2 or 3 or 4 cross sections within that frame if I wanted to. I'm just going to do one. I'm going to have one single chainage of chainage 160, and I'm going to go set, and that will go into the PPF file, essentially read the information from that PPF file and populate that into the frame itself. So it's taking the scale and the vertical exaggeration and the information or the models to plot directly from the PPF file, but I've just nominated here change 160. Now I do want to change the scale of that one, so I'm going to change the horizontal scale. Let's try a 1 in 100 and go set. And I can then reposition either that frame or the information within the frame, which is these margins here. I'm going to do that manually just by selecting the pan button, and I'm going to go and grab that information, just click and hold my mouse button down. So everything's going slower because I'm recording. Okay. And I'm going to reposition that exactly where I want that on that plan composition. So it's doing an X cross-section PPF file dynamically in the background, but showing me exactly the result of that data as I go through. In version 14, we brought you the ability to be able to automatically plot node details. So for the water guys or the drainage guys. So you can have a special chapter type that does node diagrams for an entire model, Or if you're just wanting a blow up detail of 1 or 2 particular nodes, you can absolutely do that via a water node type frame. So I have a water model. I'll just move all of this here. Minimize this for a second and turn on my network model. And I would like to plot out the water node detail of stormwater manhole M2. So I'm just going to do that within a particular frame type. So I'm going to insert a node diagram type frame, and I'm going to position this here. I could choose, I'm going to choose a water node diagram PPF file, and if I didn't specify the data that or the specific node that I want to plot, it can plot out multiple nodes all in one go. But I am going to specify the name mask for inclusion is only M2. And go set. And that's going to go and run through that water node plot diagram. It's going to plot that water node, that single node inside this particular frame type. And again, I can reposition that within the frame if I wanted to by changing the margins, or I can do that graphically. It's having a little bit of a think about because I'm recording. But you see I can move that around, position that exactly where I want to. And again, that's an instantaneous detail that's been created from the one source of truth 3D model. And you may have seen my earlier presentations that I've done with regards to 3D PDF frames. I love 3D PDF frames because you've got this interactive model that you can have inside your plots or your drawings as well. And so we do have 3D PDF frame types. And if I wanted to have a 3D PDF interactive at the base of this plot, I can simply reference a 3D PDF type frame, specify the data that it's going to, or the view favorite that it's going to be drawing that 3D information from, and you'll see that 3D information once you plot it out and open it up in something like your free Adobe Reader, and it will essentially have this data that's specified in this 3D view. If you are or have been using 3D PDF files and you go to open up the PDF file and it opens up and you just see a blank frame, you don't know that there's 3D information there to click. A little tip that's really handy, if you want to open up the PDF file and before you activate the 3D mode, you want to see something, a really neat little thing to do is also insert a perspective view type frame over the top of that 3D PDF frame. In the same place. And if you have the same view favorite or the same view information as what the 3D PDF is, basically when you open up the PDF file, you'll see a little 3D snapshot of what's going to be within the 3D data. So just going back in a little bit of summary, referencing will save you lots and lots of manual inputs, manually placing frames, manually placing text or notes. You seriously don't have to worry about that if it's the same information or even slightly different and it's on multiple different compositions. Just reference it. Reference it from either a book level or from a chapter level. And the drawing register will automatically change all of your title block information when you hit plot. I'm more than happy to take questions in more detail on that. The drawing register that we have been using is the one that's installed with 12D model version 15. It's the one called drawing_register. So you can have that and you can see the matching MPS file that Owen set up for that. So it'll give you a bit of an idea. So that is the MPS 4 design presentation. Thank you very much. And I'm sure you guys will have questions that I'm more than happy to answer.